Hello, patrons. Welcome to yet another fun week of Gutting the Sacred Cow. Happy horse shit. Kevin Israel, how are you doing, buddy? Are you still reeling from David the producer's attack on Back to the Future?
I haven't recovered, and I love David the producer, but I've really started to second guess my opinion of him. But I didn't second guess my opinion of the episode because it is outstanding.
It kills. It slaps, as the kids say.
Yeah, indeed.
The most ardent fans of David the producer even having a hard time. Even his wife said this is a fool's errand, but sometimes it takes a fool's errand to appreciate it. Let's start off with some movie news. Kevin, I know the little film just came out called Morbius, which I don't know anyone of my friends or whatever social media contacts who have seen it. A few people did come to us on the Twitter page and said it's not that bad. But
not a ringing endorsement.
No, not enough for me to drop $15. In a new interview with Uproxx, director Daniel Espinosa confirmed the rumor that Jared Leto's process included limping to the bathroom on crutches to stay in character and had a lengthy bathroom 45-minute long trips. At what point do you snap and say, "Hey, asshole, here's a Snapple bottle"? And you're not playing Macbeth, dickbag. It's a fucking Marvel movie. Max Schnell, as my grandparents would say, move it. What a dick.
Jared, just cash the check.
Oh, we're going that deep for a fucking tertiary Marvel character? I mean, the hate on Jared Leto has been strong for a while. I didn't really have it, but after reading the story, yeah, this is why no one takes actors seriously. How about you? What news do you have for this week?
Well, my news is that the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness tickets go on sale this week. And depending on when you hear this, I probably already have mine. I have to admit, I'm a complete sucker for all things Marvel. This movie is going to be huge. And it's just amazing, the universe that let's be honest, Kevin Feige's created a huge, elaborate, expensive soap opera for geeks. Yeah. And I am 100% in. I mean, everything's tied together. Everything's meshed. Nobody could come in. I feel bad for kids who are like just coming of age now, I actually don't feel bad for them, but they have to go back and watch 20 something movies just to catch up. And
I was going to say, it sucked even more having shitty comic book films out in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
I take that back. Even before that, Batman 89 was the first real attempt. So how about you fuckers try growing up when we grew up and not have anything except laughable attempts like Fantastic Four or Captain America or Dolph Lundgren as the Punisher. Yeah, that's what we had to deal with. So shut up, you pussies, and enjoy every minute of it.
I couldn't agree more. Agree more. And I just can't wait to see. Look, this movie is going to lead to huge things. It's really going to be the bridge from what's been in the Marvel universe to what happens now. This and Far From Home, we're going to get the multiverse. We're going to get all sorts of new variants of people. I think they're going to tease the mutants and the X-Men and everything. So this movie is going to be huge. It's going to be awesome. I don't know how much of the story of an actual movie is going to be great. I'm sure it'll be there, but it's going to be more interesting to see how it impacts the rest of the MCU. So I am all in, and give me those fucking post-credit scenes. I'm ready.
When do tickets go on sale? I completely missed that article.
Tomorrow.
Oh, looks like I'm only doing. What time do they go on sale?
I don't know.
And it comes out when? In a few weeks?
May
or
4th.
May?
It comes out May 4th, which is a Wednesday.
They've been doing that recently, though. They've been bringing things out. First of all, how do they skirt this? Look, we were around when they started doing the midnight releases, especially Batman 89. That's the first one I can remember. Then they started saying, all right, like Thursday evening, now fucking Wednesday, unless it's a holiday weekend like Thanksgiving.
I don't think
Christmas.
May isn't. May 4th. That weekend isn't. But I'm going to be going. I'm going to go that Friday.
I'll be there that Friday as well.
Yeah, I'm not doing Wednesday or Thursday.
I will be getting tickets for that just as fast as you will be, I am sure. What do you have for that doesn't happen?
Let's talk about ties in movies. I'm not talking about winning and losing. I'm talking about neckties.
All right.
For some reason, movies have tried to convince us that when men go on their first date, they put on ties. And I don't know why this is a thing. Every movie has that scene where the guy's nervously getting ready for his date, and you see him trying to put on a tie, and he sometimes has trouble putting on. Who the fuck is wearing a tie on a date? That doesn't happen. Nobody wears ties on, like, unless you happen to be coming from the office, and then you probably even take the tie off. But for some reason, this has been worked into our psyche in movies that, oh, he's getting ready for a date. He's putting on a jacket on a tie on. Nobody does that. That's insanity, especially for a first date. You want to look casual. You want to look relaxed. He wants to get up there with a tie and be like, oh, excuse me, that's fucking bullshit. I don't know why movies continue to do it, but I don't remember what movie that brought this up in my head, but I just saw it. And I actually looked at my wife and I was like, that doesn't happen because that's bullshit.
Oh, yes. And you, how about where certain films, not really as much now, I would definitely 80s and 90s for sure, that would have stand-up comics wearing ties nonstop. Yeah. Not that we were in the clubs, obviously in the 80s. I mean, I went in the 90s, but I don't remember not performing obviously either then, but I don't remember seeing comics wearing ties of anything. They're all, I just rolled out of bed, or you have the 1/10 of 1% that's super dressed up. You know, like the Maniscalcos or the Dane Cooks.
There's this interesting like evolution of comedy from where everybody wore suits on stage. You know, there was like in the 50s, the 60s, and even the 70s, comics were always dressed up. And then it started to get more into that like rock star type comedian. And now comics all look like they might be homeless. And that's might okay. Be.
You're so cute.
But you know what? And I work for a lot of bookers, and they'll say, hey man, you got to dress up for this gig, because they know that otherwise we're probably showing up in jeans and sneakers.
Oh yeah, they've been burned many a times. Yeah, I've had a few Sweet 16s like, can you like dress up? I'm like, not a problem. Yeah, I know. I did two Sweet 16 birthdays, and guess what? Crushed it. Here's the secret: hit on the moms, doesn't miss. That doesn't happen. We recently watched American Pie, and if you had this will be out before our verdict is. One scene just grabbed me by the cockles of my anus and heart and common sense. And that's when Finch takes a dump in school, which still gives me PTSD thinking about having to take a dump in school. His shit, sponsored by Turbolax, is so violent that his legs shake like some kid with rickets trying to run a marathon. I've taken some world-class dumps, including diarrhea, where you feel like you've achieved the orgasm, or taken dumps so big you have to use a coat hanger to break them up because they breach the water surface in the toilet. But I have never had my legs quake like a 1999 Shannon Elizabeth and Tara Reid tag teaming blowing Kevin Goatee. That doesn't happen.
Amen.
Here's what I watched recently, and this one caught a little bit of notoriety because Ben Affleck was on Stern right before Christmas, and he's talking about, well, of course, being married to Jennifer Garner, but he also talked about a little film called Tender Bar, which George Clooney directed, starring the kid from Ready Player One, which I hated. It's a story of about a boy in the 70s to a college man in the 80s. And it focuses on his favorite uncle, Charlie, being Ben Affleck, and his deadbeat radio DJ dad. I didn't look up the actor's name because I didn't give a shit. George Clooney directed this, so you would think it would lend credibility to the project. Guess what? It didn't. The main character was a fucking bore, and I'd rather see Affleck's character much more than anyone else. The ending was so lazy, it made Who Gives a Shit seem like a strong point for me to make. I was bored out of my mind. The last third... Yeah, it's gonna be sounding weird, but listen, give me more Affleck. This film stunk 3 out of 10. Don't bother. It's on Amazon. It's free. Don't even waste your time with the hour and 40. After I complained a few weeks ago, what's that? Go ahead.
No, never mind. Go ahead. Go ahead.
After I saw a rewatch and was sad to report that Blade 1 really doesn't hold up, I said, all right, let's go for it again. Let's go check out Blade 2. And everyone's favorite guy who's catching motherfuckers trying to ice skate uphill. After further review, this one had a better storyline throughout the film, unlike Blade 1. Action's pretty good. Solid rewatch. 6.5 out of 10. So those are the two I've just watched. And I'm watching G.I. Jane right now. I'm almost done. It's all right. Kind of ham-handed in its approach of some of the characters in there, like, women suck. Women can't do this. Listen, I appreciate what she's done here, which is don't treat me any different. Unlike the current military, where you're on different police exams and fire exams, where they have different sets of standards for women. I have no problem with women soldiers, firefighters, or cops as long as they do the same stuff the men does. So I appreciate her in this film where she's a badass and does all the same shit the dudes do with a smile on her face. So it's all right so far, but jury's still out. What about you?
More doing one-armed push-ups is always okay in my book.
And every time too, she leans over. I'm like, is there a titty coming out there? Did I miss something?
Just her watch tease.
What's that?
Just go watch Striptease.
I did, and it's bad, but the scenes are still top notch.
So, Kev, I gotta say, now I want our listeners to know that we don't plan this out because I also watched a Ben Affleck movie. I watched 2022's Deep Water with Ben Affleck and I can't remember her name, but she's stunning. Ana de
Armas, the chick from Knives Out and the new Bond film.
Yeah. Wow. She is incredible. This movie is fucking horrible. It's about I'll read the log line because it'll do better than I do. A well-to-do husband who allows his wife to have affairs in order to avoid a divorce becomes the prime suspect of the disappearance of her lovers.
This sounds like the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett story.
You know what? It's a well-timed movie because it's a painful movie to watch. It's basically about a cuck and a drunk who
is that a Dr. Seuss book?
Yeah, the cuck and the drunk. Yeah. It tries to make it out that it tries to be this like sexy, sensual movie where he like sort of is voyeuristically watching her with these men, and it just comes off awkward and annoying. He's a simp. She's a pain in the ass. All his friends, but everybody else in the movie is almost like they're in on the joke because they're all like, dude, why are you doing this? Just leave her. And like, they're the only two that like think this is like this cool thing to be happening. And then there's apparently this mystery where people die and he gets accused of it. But here's the funny thing. I don't know because I stopped halfway through the movie. It was so bad. This was a movie based off a book. And this is set up for my wife to love this movie because this is exactly kind of the movies my wife likes, with shitty people having affairs and doing shit to each other and just being assholes. She loves those kind of movies, and she hated this movie, and we agreed to turn it off at the same time. I went and read the Wikipedia summary, and I'm glad I did. The movie is terrible. The only person I felt bad for is they have a little girl who's kind of aware of everything going on, and she should have just called the Division of Family Services and been like, my parents are the worst. Get me out of here. This movie blew 0 of 10.
I like what you call him. New Daddy 4 is here. New Daddy 7 is here. Yeah. So how long is the film, and at what point of the film did you bail?
I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I looked last night and it was like almost exactly the halfway mark.
It was actually about a little 30 minutes to 45 before I give it a nice fair cut until I pull the cord. Like I was telling you before, I watch a bunch of these classic films, and man, I have an itchy trigger finger with these films, and they are short. Dude, there was one that was like an hour and 8, and I punched out at like 20 minutes in. I go, okay. It's like another third. It's like I'm a third way in the film. I'm like, fuck it. It's just ugh.
I thought the movie was going to go in a different direction, and I kept waiting for something else to happen, and it never did. And finally I was like, all right, there's not going to be any surprise in this movie. But a movie that I did rewatch, and this isn't going to be a surprise, but I got sucked in. This is a movie that passes the remote test for me every time. Training Day was on, and I happened to get it at the beginning. And that movie is fucking amazing. Yeah. That is flawless. Every scene is amazing. Denzel is at his best. Ethan Hawke is also great. It's perfectly cast in the part of kind of the naive young detective. Everything that happens in that movie is great. The whole I had other shit to do. And I kept saying, I'm just going to watch 10 more minutes. And suddenly the movie was over. It's just such a fucking great movie.
It sure is. No argument here. It's a thoroughly enjoyable film. That brings us to now. How about trailer talk? Any trailers have you caught recently?
I have not seen a single trailer recently.
Okay. Yes, I did. I saw the Bob's Burger trailer. And just like when I see commercials for the TV show, I didn't give a shit. Bob's Burgers, fuck out of here. How is that still on the air? Like I used to DVR The Simpsons, and I tapped out actually this past season when I finally turned off the DVR. Go, I'm done. Sorry, Mike Price, I love you. It's been so fucking awful for the last, I don't know how many years, but you always get the last few minutes of Bob's Burger, go, who's watching this and why is it still on the air? Family Guy is still soaring at the top, but God, who's asking for a Bob's Burger film? Not me. Quotes.
Oh, I lied. I did see a trailer.
What did you see?
Sorry, I did see a trailer. The Sonic the Hedgehog 2 trailer, which Why are they making this movie? I don't understand. The first one
here's an easy answer.
Bad.
The first one made a lot of money.
I don't understand. It was so painfully bad. And
you watched it?
Yeah, we watched it.
I didn't.
Because I watched it purely because the online buzz was that it was so much better than people thought it was going to be. And it was exactly as bad as I thought it was going to be. And this can't be any better, but it made it, you're right. It made a ton of money. I guess it's aimed more at kids, but Sonic the Hedgehog was big when we were kids. So I don't get it. It doesn't look interesting. The character, it looks fucking terrible. Video game movies are bad.
How many have they gotten right? And the first Mortal Kombat, and I'll argue the reboot. I know you hate it, which is fine. But the first Mortal Kombat and Tron Legacy. Well, that was a game and a movie. The movie came first in the game.
There was a movie called Silent Hill that was based off the Silent Hill.
I played the game. I beat the game. That game was hard as shit. That came out in college. Never saw the film though.
The movie wasn't bad. The movie was creepy. And at the time I hadn't played the game, so I didn't know. It was a little slow, but it apparently followed the video game pretty closely, so it wasn't terrible. But I don't know why it's so hard to make some of these video games into movies. But
Uncharted, Tomb Raider. I mean, Tomb Raider 1 maybe. Doom was. I remember it wasn't that bad. I remember they started doing first person view.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it. People and the critics are, this is terrible. They're running around shooting. Motherfucker, you've not played GoldenEye. That's blatantly obvious for 8 hours straight. All right. So yeah, I have no desire I didn't see Sonic 1 and I shan't be seeing Sonic 2. Quotes. This film's on cable nonstop and I get sucked in every time. The quote, of course, this is not my office. Damn right. It's not. Beverly Hills Cop 2. Same quote from 1. He just changes it from locker to office. And I use that all the time. I walk into somewhere, I go, this is not my office. And if I'm in the wrong place. I even have my daughter saying, that's one of the 5 quotes she'll say ad nauseum. She, of course, we pause it and I go, Reagan, come here. And I'll show her. And she'll, this is not my locker. And then I go, okay, now you have to leave the room because Inspector Todd has 45, F-bombs right after that. So that quote just never gets old, and I get sucked in every goddamn time for Beverly Hills Cop 1 and 2. What about you?
Let's just take a step back. No, I was wrong. I'm sorry. Take a step forward. Now take a step back, and then we're cha-chaing. It's from Real Genius.
I hated that film.
Well, here's the thing. I don't remember a single thing about that movie. I couldn't tell you anything that happens in that movie, but for some reason that line has always stuck in my head. And whenever somebody says, whoa, take a step back, I always say, and now we're cha-chaing. And nobody ever knows. I've literally said this in social situations before. Nobody knows what I'm talking about, but I always laugh, but then I don't know why I'm laughing because I couldn't tell you what happens in the scene when this line is delivered or what happens in the rest of the movie. But I just know that it was said in Real Genius.
I hated that film like I hated Real Science. It was pure 80s fuckery that goes off the rails. And it just, my wife, I think she likes it. I forgot. I could ask her, whatever. But
does it end with them making a big laser?
I think so. I mean, I wanted to turn it off, but I think my wife watched and I made it through. It's terrible. A lot of those, again, weird science, the same exact shitty, lame jokes and nostalgia propping that up. Nope, not a fan. Kids, that's going to do it for this week's Trailer Talk. Good luck getting your Doctor Strange 2 tickets. I'm sure it won't be that hard, but I'll be there and Kevin Israel will be there and we'll be here next week to talk more nonsense and shenanigans. Thank you again for being a part of Patreon. Lord Snurts is a new member of Patreon and pretty much the one of a few. Thank you for being there, Lord Snurts. You asked for a shout out. You got it. Take care, everybody.